Hello and welcome back to another episode on the channel by me, TheWiseJames. In this, I'm just going to be reacting to the True Geordie podcast, doing a video, excuse me, on did Trump just cover up the Epstein Client list? Let's get it. Whoops.
Parties. And it's gotten to a point where it was so corrupt from early on with Epstein. The corruption we're seeing now, it's been there since day one. Something's not right about this. Do you remember that Elon Musk tweet about how Donald Trump was actually in the Epstein files and that's why they're not going to release them? You see,
I did say that on Facebook a long time ago. Like, you're talking 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something. I said this on Facebook. So, like, to then hear Elon Musk agree and the whole world agree months later, like, it doesn't really bother me because this is normal for me, my life, where I will say stuff that sounds ridiculous. People will laugh at me for it. And then years down the line, I will be proven correct. The same thing happened with Rolf Harris. I've literally got so many to name, it's ridiculous. Why else would he not release the list? It's only because his name's on it.
Turns out there is no list. That blew your mind, didn't it? How could he be on the list when there isn't one? FBI review finds no Jeffrey Epstein client list. Confirms suicide. So that means he wasn't supplying powerful people with underage girls, and he also wasn't killed by said powerful people in jail before he could testify that he was helping them. So that wraps everything up in a nice little package, doesn't it?
No. It just shows that these people are scared and don't want the world to find out which one of them are one of those types of people. You can guarantee that out of the list, a few of them are world leaders, and that they are scared to be found out. They don't want to be found out to be the type of people who hurt children, but the whole world's going to find out. It doesn't matter what they do, we're going to find out. If they don't release it, we'll make them release it.
A little bow on it and everything. Nothing to see here. Move along. Now, I know a lot of you are still sort of, you hear the name Epstein, you don't know exactly the full story. I'm going to bring you up to speed right now so that you're really deep just how fucked up this situation really is. Jeffrey Epstein was an American businessman who was worth hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars. He owned multiple islands. He owned property in Florida, New York, Paris, Mexico. He owned multiple planes. Now, there is minimal record of where that money came from. He was a financial advisor to a billionaire for a period of time called Leslie Wexner, who apparently he stole like $50 million from. But even then, his time working with Leslie does not account for the bulk of the wealth that Jeffrey Epstein accrued in his life. Now, by now, you already know the guy was a sex trafficker, confirmed. And there is a theory that some of his money came from trafficking young girls to powerful clients who would then obviously pay him in return. And there's also another theory that he was also blackmailing those clients from the trafficking of girls to also get money out of them. And that's not the only theory, right? There's suggestions that he was also taking information from these powerful clients, feeding that up the ladder to organizations like Mossad, which is Israel's national intelligence agency. Potentially they were paying him for that information and giving him protection in return. Who knows at this point? The point is it's widely regarded that his money did not come just from legal shit. And it's...
Well, yeah, he used to do basically human trafficking. That's why that lady, that's why that woman's in jail for helping him do it. For trafficking young girls to him.
Seems like the trafficking started for Epstein for his own personal pleasure. Like, the guy is a predator. And the way he would acquire these young girls is he would get someone else to go to them. It wouldn't be him making the approach a lot of the time. Like Ghislaine Maxwell, for example, his right-hand woman who's now in jail for helping him do all of this. But it wasn't always Ghislaine. Sometimes he would take a victim, say a young girl who he'd come into contact with, and he would get them to go and get more young victims for him. So, for example, he'd say to the girl, if you get me another girl, I will pay you £200 to £300 per girl that you bring to his house to give him a massage, because that was sort of the code for how we would initiate the sexual contact. And because young girls, a lot of these specific ones he targeted, they needed money, they were desperate. The local schools are near, where he lived, became a hunting ground for him. And there was one girl alone who said that she'd acquired 40 to 60 other girls for Jeffrey Epstein. And you imagine each time one of those girls comes through the door, he's then getting them to recruit even more girls for him. And this turned into a sexual pyramid scheme for Jeffrey Epstein, something the likes of which the cops seem to have never seen before in their life. And that is one of the reasons why the number of victims is so fucking enormous. I mean, they say there's over 1,000. And he was getting these massages multiple times a day. So it would always be like, another girl, another girl, another girl. It was insane how this was going down. And obviously, when he would get ones that he liked more, he would keep them in the fold with him. He would promise them loads of opportunities as long as they were loyal and kept their mouth shut. And when one of the girls finally came forward to the police about this, it uncovered an avalanche of other girls who'd been sex trafficked by Epstein. And this is sort of where you see the level that Epstein was on, that he wasn't just any other criminal. He knew he was being investigated, which is kind of taking away part of the police's biggest strength, right? Them knowing and you not knowing and them being able to see the mistakes you're making allows them to get data on you. He wasn't going to let that happen. And he actually had his own team of private investigators investigating the cops who were trying to investigate him. They were digging through their trash. They were following them. He was not afraid. If anything, he was ballsy as fuck. Like he had nothing to lose, and maybe he knew why. And after all that investigating that it took place on, him being with these underage girls and everything he'd been up to, Palm Beach police were trying to get him done, but the state attorney...
Are you working...
The corrupt attorney. Yeah, there's a lot of corrupt law officials in this world, unfortunately. If they get paid enough money, they'll give a decision that a person wants, rather than an honest verdict.
On a prostitution charge. Bear in mind, these are underage girls. How on earth could you be getting him on a prostitution charge? It made no sense. And that was the first in a line of many hurdles that they had to clear to try and bring this bloke to justice. Now, the police didn't accept that, so they handed the case upwards to the FBI. And not long after that, the FBI stopped cooperating with the police. And I watched interviews with the police officers, and they're like, that's never happened. And
good, because it's clear that the police were infected with his team. That's the thing you lot don't realise in the world, to be honest. You would think, for example, the British police, aren't infected with criminals, but they are. Literally, the majority of people in the police are either associating with criminals or well known to criminals, and they're being targeted by criminals. So, organised crime people will use police officers to find that information, to, do certain things. Honestly, corrupt police officers are... It's not a rare thing anymore. It's expected. It's literally expected that they would be corrupt.
40 years of me working with the cops. So they couldn't understand why they'd been phased out of nowhere. And it's very clear that some of these FBI agents weren't operating in the right way, right? Some of them were emailing back and forwards to his legal team, like, here's my Gmail and we'll meet for a meeting in a hotel, as if it was all pally-pally. And the federal prosecutor negotiated a deal with Epstein behind the backs of the victims. These victims who've given all their accounts and they've dug up their most traumatic memories. Doesn't matter. We're doing a deal with them. And he was...
Yeah, because he had dirt on people. This is what I mean, actually. You know what it is, right? Sometimes your greatest defense is knowing someone else's weakness. So, if one of your enemies, right, knows that you could hammer them with a sentence, literally, you could just say one sentence to someone and ruin their life. Trust me, they'll leave you alone. They will leave you alone. But if they think you have nothing, they'll come for you. They'll literally come for you. But if you have something on them, if you have dirt on all these people, they'll leave you alone. Trust me, they'll leave you alone. I've got a lot of dirt on people like the British Prime Minister, the King, Nigel Farage, Rishi Sunak, lots of people, and I keep it close to my chest because if the government ever tries to take the piss, I can take the piss back. That's the way it works.
Allowed to plead guilty to 2 prostitution charges, get off with a very soft punishment, and these girls we're talking about were in high school. What the fuck are we talking about? It was so corrupt from early on with Epstein. The corruption was...
The whole of the USA is corrupt. They've literally put one of Epstein's best pals in charge of the United States because he wanted to get rid of all the migrants. Oh, so they put a nonsense. I can't even say that word. So they put a ex-offender in charge, or someone who was best pals with an ex-offender.
Seeing now.
Ever heard of accusation by association? Well, Trump used to associate with Jeffrey Epstein. Accusation via association. If you're going to associate with them types of people, you're going to be accused of the same type of behaviour as those people. So Donald Trump, rightly, is being accused of the same sort of behaviour as Epstein, and will continue until he clears his name, which he never will, because his name's on the list.
Oh, it's been there since day one. Something's not right about this. He did 13 months in the private wing of a jail when he was doing like work release as well. They give him the most cushy, easy sentence possible. And the key was they granted him full immunity to those victims, so they couldn't like come back and get him again after that. And they basically handed out get out of jail free cards to his co-conspirators, named and unnamed. And as far as I'm aware, this sort of thing was unheard of. Which, if you do believe that he was feeding intelligence to high up agencies in government, maybe that's why, right? Like, why are you getting this kind of treatment? It does not make sense. And it may also link to the powerful people he was supplying these girls to, or he was getting the girls from as well, because apparently on his birthday, friend of his sent over multiple 12-year-old girls to his apartment. This is from another victim who said that she's seen that. So obviously this deal was saving Epstein, but who knows who else it was saving. And the bottom line is he got away with it. He got a slap on the wrist, did a couple of months in jail, but fuck me, he got off with nothing compared to what he should have got. And it was only when an expose was done on him in 2019 by the Miami Herald, which went into detail of all of the shit he'd actually been up to, which gained massive attention online. People actually decided we got to fucking do something about this. So he got arrested again, and this is where you see all of the footage of him being interviewed and all the questioning and him denying everything. And before he could even go to trial, he mysteriously was killed. Sorry, committed suicide. Sorry about that. It's easy to mix that up, isn't it? And it does feel like when you look back at the way the events folded, they tried to save him the first time. The second time, they're like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Look, I'm not being funny, but if you look into what happened to Jeffrey Epstein in that prison, right? He was on suicide watch, which means he was being watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by at least 2 different officers. Correctional officers, fine. Right? So there was 2 people watching him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And somehow, one of them goes walking for half an hour. Jeffrey Epstein hangs himself to death. Now, he didn't know those person was going for a walk for half an hour. He didn't know, these guards work shift. But do you know who did? The US government. And do you know, the only reason why the US government would kill someone in a federal jail is because it's going to make them look bad if that person tells the truth. So, the US government clearly decided to kill him instead of letting him tell the world that people like Trump were ex-offenders. That's literally it. That's literally it. It's easier to lie to the Americans for the CIA and the FBI than tell them the truth. Because if they told them the truth, they'd have to be like, well, we mistreat you all the time, We force fed you LSD. We literally try and make you fight each other so you don't have a go at us. The American government will never, ever tell the American people the truth. Never. Not in a million years. Because they're cowards. They think you just can't handle it. And to be fair, most Americans couldn't.
Because in the event, he was helping very powerful people. The way out of that situation is to tell on them all and then get yourself a fucking deal. And when I say he was well connected, like when they first raided his house, when it was an unexpected investigation happening on him that he didn't know about, his house was cleaned. And the police said, we knew. We knew he knew before we went there. And he'd made sure that it was spotless. Now, we know he was very close to people like Bill Clinton, who was on record of being on flights to his island. And one of his other powerful friends was Donald Trump. So we're talking 2 presidents he was very close with that we know of. And before the legal issues, Trump actually was...
And Prince Andrew. Don't forget the British royal family's Prince Andrew, who, and I quote, said, stayed at his house because it was easier. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to pull the interview up right now of Prince Andrew, actually, because I know that some people have probably never seen it. Prince Andrew is the brother of King Charles, right? Our current king, okay? Now, let's do this quickly. Bosh, bosh. Prince Andrew on Epstein. Watch this. Oh, it's fucking too long. But anyway, yeah, he does a whole interview, and in this interview, he literally tries to defend himself being friends with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And how he only was friends with him and stayed at his house because it was easier. Okay? Enough said. That's the brother of my king. Literally, this guy was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the brother of the King of England. Who should abdicate, by the way.
Was quoted on saying, I've known him for 15 years. Terrific guy. Jesus, that is just terrible, isn't it? He's a lot of fun to be.
He's a great guy. What a fucking moron.
With. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, said Trump. And what's funny is Trump later said that he was never a fan of his, and I'm just like, when you were his mate, he was saying the opposite, pal. And one of Jeffrey Epstein's most well-known victims was Virginia Giuffre, the girl who was pictured with Prince Andrew. Well, she actually worked for Donald Trump at the Mar-a-Lago resort that he owns when she was recruited by Jeffrey Epstein. And she said, I was trafficked by Epstein and handed out to his powerful friends, politicians. She said it all. And like, you can sit there and go, well, you know, what's she lying? Prince Andrew paid her over $10 million to settle the...
$15 million precisely, I think. Maybe 12. Just so that she didn't tell the courts, like, everything. And it could stay... He literally paid her off. Nearly $20 million. And then she died in mysterious circumstances, just like Epstein did.
Lawsuit with her. Now, what's mad is she died earlier this year, and you can see here this apparently was from the impact of a bus crash that apparently collided with her car. She claimed at the time that she had days to live. From what we've been told, she did survive that. However, about a month later, she died of apparent suicide at her home.
She literally made loads of tweets and comments over her entire life saying how she would never, ever take her life. And if it was ever said that she took her life and killed herself, that it wasn't her. And I believe what she said, because I say the same thing. I would never, ever commit suicide. So, if I ever die and they claim it's suicide, it's a fucking cover-up of a murder. This is a government murder, and they've covered it up. It's literally a government murder.
At the age of 41. Some people have said online that she shot herself. I don't know. That's not been confirmed anyway. I just read it. Now, her father...
Evil world.
Released a statement discounting the suicide explanation and posted that someone got to her. That is
That's her father. Literally, her dad said that story's not true. It wasn't suicide. Someone got to her. I believe it. I believe it was Prince Andrew and Donald Trump. 100%. 100%. Or maybe Benjamin Netanyahu. Maybe it's the Israeli leader. Maybe all these guys are working together because of the Epstein thing. Maybe they're just ex-offenders who hurt children. It would make sense.
Fucking mind-blowing. When you consider everything that's coming out now and everything that she'd been saying at the time, it is wild. And she is just one of many women who have been saying, I was trafficked by Epstein and that multiple other men were involved and that he did have clients. He did have them. And the fact that the royal fucking family paid her out is pretty darn solid proof of it, if you ask me, like. I've never said darn before in my life. That felt really good.
100% right. 100% right. The royal family of Britain, of England, would not pay some random woman like over $10 million to keep it out of court if it was wrong. They wouldn't do that. And then obviously you've got the same person who was accused of that, who paid her off, is live doing an interview for the BBC saying how he was best friends with Epstein because it was easier when he was doing work in America. He would stay at his house because it was easier. It was convenient. Literally, you lot in this entire planet have allowed liars to take over so much that you're now putting child offenders in power at the most top level. That's how idiots, that's how stupid some of you are. You're literally voting for child ex-offenders to be leaders of your country. That's how fucking stupid some of you are. Let's be honest.
I felt like I was in court. So naturally, us, the public, have been wondering for a good few years, at what fucking point are we going to find out who the hell these bastards were? And when Elon Musk put this tweet out, time to drop the really big bomb, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, that is the real reason
You know, this really annoys me because I'm not being funny. I know the whole planet doesn't know that I'm technically the smartest man in the world. I get that, that's fine. But, like, look, I literally said this months ago. So how is it I say this months ago and, you know, no one gives a shit, no one thinks I'm right. Just a crazy, crazy lunatic. But see, this is literally the 22nd of December, 2024, right? Crazy how the USA has tried so hard to get this one man, which I agree with, however. The USA government is not concerned about the Epstein Client list. Don't people get murdered in New York with a shooting every week? Oh yes, it was a billionaire, not a normal person. Yeah, that was when that billionaire pharmaceutical company's guy got shot and they sent the entire American army after them. But you know, when it's a normal person getting shot in Harlem, or in the hood, no one gives a fuck. They don't even investigate, do they? So, I said they should do the same with the Epstein Client list. Put all their legal resources behind it, you know? And as I say here, their new president's name will be on it. So, the point is, right, I say this, in December last year, so 6 months ago. No one says a damn thing, because you all don't know who I am, what I've done. That's fine. The future will. It's fine. Right? But Elon Musk says it. Oh, it must be true. Elon Musk says it. It must be true. I literally said this 7 months ago. Literally said the exact same thing 7 months ago. But no one... Why do you all somehow think that, like, I don't know what I'm talking about? Just makes me laugh, really, like. Even Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking did not solve the dark matter and dark energy problem, okay? That's literally all I need to tell you lot. And they are physicists. I'm not even a physicist. And I did solve it. So, I have applied my intelligence the best on the planet, in my opinion. If you're going to ask if I have the highest capability of intelligence, you know, no. There are people out there who have the ability to be smarter than me. They just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to apply it. They've built this box around their intelligence that they'll never break free from, unfortunately. So that leaves me as the smartest man on the planet. And I don't get why some of you think the highest IQ is the smartest man in the world, because that's never, ever been the case. There was people with a higher IQ than Einstein. There was people with a higher IQ than Tesla. There was people with a higher IQ than Da Vinci. Like, it's never, ever been the case that the person with the highest IQ was the smartest. It was always the person who applied their intelligence the best. That was always the person who was the smartest. Not the richest. That's Elon Musk. So it's not Elon Musk. He's not the smartest man in the world. It's not the person with the highest IQ. It never has been. So that's all them people out the window. It's whoever applied their intelligence the best is the smartest man in the world. And I claim that's me. Alright?
They've not been made public. At the time, it was like, whoa, like it was beef, right? He was pissed off at Donald for multiple reasons, and that was something that came out. But you kind of have to look back at it now and think, that's a mad accusation to make without any proof of it.
No, it's not. I had all the proof I needed. I saw him on Epstein's Island. I saw him hanging around with Epstein. I saw Epstein get knocked off around the same time Donald Trump was, like, trying to be president. And on top of that, when Epstein did get murdered, guess who started using his old aeroplane after he died? Good old Donald Trump. So, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't write that shit. Why would Donald Trump be using an old plane from a sex offender who's facing convictions for human trafficking? He had the money to use any aeroplane in the world, yet chose to use Epstein's old plane. Explain that.
Man like Elon Musk, right, you might not like him, fair enough, but I think we can all admit he's a pretty intelligent guy. For him to accuse...
He is intelligent, but he's not the most intelligent person in the world. That's me.
Someone who he's been singing the praises of for months on end of being involved in a list of predators. Would he have done that with just zero knowledge, zero proof, and just purely speculation, just to throw something out there to hurt Donald Trump? It just doesn't feel logical to me. And I feel like Elon Musk rolls in pretty high circles. I think he knew Ghislaine Maxwell back in the day. He knew of them. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some knowledge of what has gone on. And what really got me thinking was Donald Trump's response, or the lack thereof. Donald Trump is a ballsy guy, right? You have a fucking pop at him, he comes out swinging every time. It's part of the reason why people have respected him over the years. But do you know what he did? He was as quiet as a church mouse. He never even addressed the fucking post. How can someone as one of the biggest voices on the planet, one of the richest men easily, accuse you of something as serious as that and you not even dignify it with a response? How is that possible when you're the president? This is the same...
Fear. He's scared. That's why. He's scared of Elon Musk. Because Elon Musk has enough information to bury him. So he either does what Elon wants, or Elon buries him. Elon's not stupid. So he's got all the dirt he needs on Trump, and the FBI, and the CIA. So if any of these guys try to fuck with him, he's literally got them. He will literally destroy them.
Donald Trump, who sued a media company just because they edited an interview of Kamala Harris to make her look less dumb. This man is not afraid to take you to fucking court, and yet he did nothing. He sat silent. That, for me, before we even talk about any of this other shit, the fact that there's so many photographs of Donald Trump, the fact that he said he was a great guy, that is fucking damning. We know for a fact that Donald Trump was on record on being on the Epstein planes, and we also know that Epstein had 14 different contact numbers for Donald Trump. Now, guess who has it within their power to release the Epstein files after being accused of being in them, to completely exonerate himself? Donald Trump.
And yet he's choosing not to. So we all know what's going on. We all know on this planet that his name's on the list, and therefore everyone's going to suspect he's a child ex-offender, and he's going to need to step down as the president of the United States. Unless you're all going to let some child ex-offender be your leader for the next 4 years, then the whole world is literally going to laugh at you. The whole world will be laughing at America for 4 years now until he's gone. Because you can't put, like, a criminal like that in charge.
He said he would. He said he would.
Enough.
He built his entire election on releasing the Epstein files.
A word from our sponsors.
Have you had a random phone call on the last? That's not a take control plan on. Great, you tell that scam, but they go after the interest you. They
blah 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 blah.
Who's day update
blah
you?
blah blah
60% off.
Blah. Fucking get your adverts off my stream.
That less so because you don't know.
Would you declassify them? Yeah. Well, less so, because there may be some phony stuff in there. It's a yes or a no, mate. I now look at it and I think you didn't want to say no, because you don't want to look like you've got something to hide. And then that, oh, well, there may be phony stuff in there. For me, that's self-preservation. That's him saying, some of that might be false, Like, well, why are you saying that? Again, it looks more and more like Donald Trump is in some way involved in this Epstein shit. It might be a little, it might be a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
He's certainly making me think it's quite a bit, though, because if you had nothing to lose, well, then get them out there then. And yet this is what we got from the FBI on the Epstein case. The systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as a part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. And they also confirmed that he took his own life in prison by saying it's supported by video footage from the common area of the special housing unit where Epstein was housed at the time. Anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located would have been captured by this footage. Well, well, well.
Apart from the fact the security guard went for a half-an-hour walk. Liars. Absolute liars. I have hypothymesia. I remember every detail I've ever heard about the Epstein case. and there was 2 guards on duty watching that cell that night. On the suicide wing, he was on 24-hour suicide watch. One of them had gone for a half an hour break. Somehow, there was discrepancies in the video footage. There's discrepancies, okay? It's been photoshopped. We're not fucking stupid. The FBI and the CIA have cleaned it up real nice, but there's still discrepancies, okay? I can promise you there's discrepancies.
So what they're basically saying is, don't worry, we've looked at it all. You don't need to see it. You don't even...
Yeah, the FBI's gone, oh, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And the truth is, if there was nothing to see, they'd show us. They'd fucking show us. The Federal Bureau lies.
Want to see it. It's such a long file. Just don't even bother yourself. We'll just give you the lowdown and then just take my word for it. Remember with the JFK files, not long ago, they released a whole bunch of information where we could sit and look through fucking file after file after file. It was complete transparency, that. This one is just more like, trust me, bro. Don't worry about it. It's fucking mental list. And I really like this tweet someone posted about it. There is no client list. There is no client list anymore. It's just so stupid. That's how it is, though, isn't it? That's what we're living now. And the best bit about this for me, as someone who just wants the truth to be out there, is with certain conspiracies, whether it be 9/11 or the moon landing, people have got loads of different opinions about what happened. This is one of the first times I've ever seen the entirety of the internet unite and just say, you're talking bullshit. We know the client list existed. Do you know why? Because you lot fucking told us. Here's a little interview from Kash Patel a couple of years back before he became head of the FBI.
I love how everyone's just not taking this bullshit. You know, 5 years ago, you all would have just accepted it. Oh, yeah, there was never a client list. There was no client list. My phone told me so. See, look, it says right here, there's no client list. Blah, 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 blah. So there must be no client list. What, you think you know better than the news and the newspapers? Blah, blah, blah. Honestly, some of you people are such sheep. So it's really nice to see the whole internet be like, yeah, there was definitely a client list because you told us there was a client list, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't build his, empire from not committing crimes, and those crimes had clients. So who are the fucking clients?
Where his tune was a little bit different back then.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator
I could totally believe that Bill Gates is on the list. I honestly could. I could believe that.
Blackburn to try to get it out. But then Dick Turpin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but he's released the names, right?
Maybe it's not just Bill Clinton who's lobbying to stop this from being posted. Maybe it's big politicians on both sides. And let's not forget Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who said she had the list on her fucking desk.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So there was no list. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, so there's no JFK files as well.
We've got over 1,000 victims. A dead guy. Ghislaine Maxwell still in jail for trafficking. We got a royal family member paying out for the services that he gained from Jeffrey Epstein. It's so obvious. That was an admission of guilt in the minute.
It was an admittance of guilt. Otherwise you would have just defended yourself in court or gone into the court.
He paid up, and yet we've got no client list out of nowhere. Right after Elon Musk points a finger and says, you, Donald Trump, motherfucker, are on the list. And then the list just disappears. Unfucking-leavable.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how as soon as the richest man in the world points out that the President of the United States is on the list, suddenly there's no more list. Just like magic. There's no more list anymore.
After the news broke about the no client list bullshit, Donald Trump did actually post to his Truth Social, bigging up Director Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, and basically saying they're now back to cleaning up America's...
Yeah, he's been doing everything he can to try and get everyone talking about anything except the Epstein list. The one thing he doesn't want to talk about because his name is on it.
streets, totally ignoring the fire that's going on around his reputation, and really just leaving a lot more questions than answers, which I think is what he has to do, because clearly he can't fucking answer them. For a kickoff, what the fuck was this? Remember these influencers who were handed the Epstein case file? Like, what the hell was that all about? That was clearly a tactic to just simmer people down and be like, oh, they are giving away the Epstein files. This is going to be out there any minute now. And it was just a stalling tactic. And remember the news story about Jeffrey Epstein's prison, on how the guards fell asleep, the camera stopped working, pretty much everything that could allow anything to happen to Jeffrey Epstein happened. Well, it turns out the CCTV, actually, they've got it working again. They've released 10 hours of surveillance footage of...
Yeah, they've made it. They've forged the CCTV footage to try and clear Donald Trump's name. We're not stupid. The information they gave out at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's death contradicts what they're saying now. So either they lied to us before, or they're lying to us now. So the FBI can make its choice that they lied to the American people when Jeffrey Epstein died, or that they're lying to the American people now. There's no two ways about it, because they're the ones who gave this information out, so their own information contradicts what they're saying now. So there are only two options. Well, three actually. Either they were lying then, or they're lying now. There's the two options. Or the third option is they were lying then and they're still lying now. Both are lies.
The heart of Jeffrey.
You got to ask yourself, why are governments trying to protect child ex-offenders? Ask yourself that.
Epstein's prison. You can see people walking around, you know what I mean? And like 10 whole hours is what they're saying. It's like, this proves no one came in or out, nothing could have happened. The problem is, it took the internet about 2 fucking minutes to realize that there was at least a minute missing from the CCTV footage. You see down here, it says 11:58 p.m. and then it skips to 12:01 a.m. Now, is it possible in that minute someone could have came in and done whatever they needed to do and then got out? Yeah, absolutely. And a prisoner who was in that cell has actually done an interview saying it would have been physically impossible to...
Personal shopping is
to kill himself. Like, literally, he could not have killed himself in that ward, in that wing. It's impossible. It's a suicide 24/7 watch. So even the people who try to kill themselves, they stop them because they need to serve their sentence. Like, they don't just let these people kill themselves. They will stop them so they serve their time. Like, you don't just get to leave. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally impossible to take your own life on a suicide ward, on a suicide wing. Literally impossible.
Your own life in that cell, given the means that you had at the time.
Jeffrey Epstein would have to be a magician to try to hang himself in that cell. I was in that cell. There's no way there's nothing on the ceiling. The bedpost is this high. I couldn't even go to a restroom without them walking back and forth and having me on camera. There's no way he committed suicide.
Ironically, I've actually had that guy on my podcast, former mafia guy. Great episode if you haven't seen it. And as much as this episode has been a lot about looking deeper into the darkness of the constant cover-up that's going on around Epstein, I do also want to touch on what the victims said happened.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
Very powerful words from that lady, and she mentions Ghislaine Maxwell. I just want to let you see what Donald Trump had to say about Ghislaine. Obviously, he knew Jeffrey and Ghislaine almost as a couple on the scene back in the day, and she was so involved in getting these girls in all of the abuse that they went through.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior.
I hope she doesn't turn me in, face.
I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
Coincidence?
Why the fuck would Donald Trump be sending a message to Ghislaine Maxwell like, I wish her well? If he is involved in this and he's worried about someone like Ghislaine, blowing the whistle and saying Donald Trump was involved, this one was involved, that was involved, that would make a lot of sense why you would say, I wish her well. Other than that, I can't think of a single fucking reason. Now, Donald Trump's press secretary has been fielding the questions after the blowback from all of this, and it didn't go well.
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
No, release was there wasn't a renew. Donald Trump never promised to review. He promised to release. They're not the same thing. One thing is checking over, and the other is releasing all the information to the public. Don't change your words, FBI, you liars.
Release the fucking files. Don't just tell us, show us.
They put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption.
Well, of course.
No, we don't care about you releasing the videos of child pornography. We don't want that. What we want is you to release the names of all the clients. We don't care about the media. We don't want to see those videos. We don't want to see those pictures. We want to know the names of those people and the businesses they operate so we can ensure to never pay them any money ever again, and they can go poor and homeless and die starving in the streets for hurting children. That's what we're going to do. There's nothing you rich people can do to stop us, right? You either give us the client list or we will get it. It's as simple as that.
Also, you can redact certain things. Like you can make sure that certain things aren't released for that level of sensitivity naturally. But you're giving nothing. This is the excuse. It's a very clever way out of it, though.
But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Absolute bullshit. Elon Musk responds to the news with oh, look, it's no one's been arrested o'clock again, with the official Jeffrey Epstein arrest counter. I can't come to any other conclusion about this than the FBI telling us that no one powerful was being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein more than likely means that he was blackmailing the most powerful people on earth.
Including the head of the FBI, obviously.
And we're never going to know about it. Even if Donald Trump isn't protected.
No, we are going to know about it. Trust me, we're going to know. But, you see, these people... the FBI, all these government agencies, sure, they're really powerful. They've got great security. But the one thing they are infected with is humans. And some of those humans, working for the FBI, for the CIA, for the Secret Service, they're not going to want to be seen by the future humans as in history as a protector of a child ex-offender. Is that really what the FBI, the CIA, and the presidential security want to be known as in the future, as protectors of child ex-offenders? Is that what they want? No. So one of them, at some point or another, is going to release this list. One of them, with a heart and a soul. Because they refuse to be taken down with the rest of them. Like, if you imagine you spend your entire life protecting others, for then it turns out one of those people you protected to be a child ex-offender, and you've got to protect them. That's weak, that is. Weak.
Himself, he's probably protecting people who are even more powerful than him. Because Trump, if they were below him, they'd be under the fucking bus. That's the way he is. And looking at this, right, whatever anyone thinks of Trump, I said that I thought he would be better than Kamala Harris. He probably still is, to be fair. She was a fucking moron. But
he is probably still better than Kamala. Like, I'm not being funny. Kamala spoke about abortions for 3 months and never once mentioned the fathers. Never once. Like, men don't matter. And I honestly believe that's why she lost the election, because she had no confidence from men. No confidence whatsoever.
Still, you can't let this sort of shit slide. If you're a Donald Trump guy, if you're a MAGA guy, you can't be cool with this. This is the self-destruct button for Donald Trump, in my opinion, and I think he would only push that if he had no other choice, and that's why I think he probably is in these files. So how's that for a right-wing grifter? Yeah? After all of the shit I took just because I said he was better than fucking Kamala Harris? But like I say, I've always said, whatever I think the truth is, I'll say it. I think that this is an absolute disaster for America, in my opinion, and it just shows that really, the government will just more than happily lie to you. And we've always known that, but like, this is the most obvious lie ever. And they're like, yeah, you got us. We're just going to move past it. Sorry. But let me know what you think is really going on in the comments below. What conspiracy do you have about all of this? Because it's absolutely mind-blowing, in my opinion. Don't forget to hit the like button. Stay subscribed to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.
You know, this isn't even the first time stuff like this has happened. Us in Britain have had something similar. Look. Prince Charles and Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile's someone who used to do awful things to dead people and dead animals and stuff. Awful human being. And here he is. There he is with Charles. You know, there's another one with him and Charles. There's him and Charles. He's also, you know, was best friends with the leaders of the British government at the time. So, you know, Thatcher. So there's Prince Charles and Thatcher, you know, the English Prime Minister at the time. We'll just change Charles' name to Savile. Savile and Thatcher. Oh, and look, there is a child ex-offender with the British Prime Minister, right, setting up a child's charity to help vulnerable children called the NSPCC. So there's one of the worst child offenders in my lifetime I ever heard about, working with the British Prime Minister to create a charity for children. And obviously that was so he had somewhere to go to pick on victims. Did the British government ever close the NSPCC down? No. They eventually hired Rolf Harris to be the leader. And then he got charged with multiple offences against children. 9 offences, if I believe correctly. So, this isn't unheard of. This is standard stuff in the world that you just don't hear about because the only information you lot get is from your TV. If you do a bit of research, you do a bit of fucking digging, trust me, some of these rich people are in bed with child offenders and worse. So yeah, that's that. So thanks very much for watching. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye. Catch you in the next one.